everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I cannot tell you how many people, and not just all you great Burmis brigaders out there, have contacted me about the secret police roundups in Portland and now beyond. Now, before I wanted to weigh in on the issue, I wanted to take a look at some of this stuff. I wanted to see whether or not this was real. I wanted to see if it was unprecedented, which I don't think it is, actually. Unfortunately, I wish it were unprecedented, but it's not. And I wanted to see how it would be used politically. So I decided to contact my very good buddy and Slow Newsday's own Steve Poikonen, and he's also a part of course, Action for Assange. You can check him out over on Twitter and, of course, actionforassange.com. You can support me over on the GoFundMe, fully demonetized here, losing subscribers by the moment for calling out some of the idiocy that has been going on around the internet regarding Q, Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, wishing her well. But we do things here to tell the truth, not to get subscribers, not to get likes, not to get shares. If you share my stuff, I hope it's because it's valid, because that's the only reason to share it. So the real question is, are we seeing Minority Report style arrests in this country? That's what the media is running with. Now, that may very well may be the case, because when you call arrests proactive, does that mean the people being arrested have even committed a crime? And once again, to discuss that is Steve from Slow Newsday. Steve, how are you, and what is your take on this madness?
I'm doing all right, Jason, despite the coming dystopia that we're currently living in. So look, in 2011, as a direct result of Occupy, and an amendment was put into the National Defense Authorization Act, which allowed for indefinite detention of U.S. citizens and the removal of due process from the landscape as long as it falls under the umbrella of terrorism. So if you put your mind back to early 2012, January and February, as the last few remaining Occupy camps were being completely brutalized and cleared out, there were a number of reports of protesters at Occupy who got snatched up off the street, thrown into a van. Nobody knew who it was that grabbed them up or where they were going. So this is not at all without precedent. There's a couple of I'm always opposed to state violence. I will always be opposed to state violence. I wish that however, having said that, I wish that the people who were being rounded up by the Department of Homeland Security in these instances were, in fact, the agents provocateurs who are setting fires and doing the majority of the looting, rather than anyone in black skinny jeans that they can find, which seems to be the case.
Now, I've seen some of these videos, okay? And for me, I look at them, and for instance, one of them is you see a black SUV roll up. There are people in the SUV, the police officers that don't look like police officers. Let's be honest. They are dressed up in full military garb. They have gas masks over their face, and they're demanding this person pull over. As they pull to the side and stop the car, they are ripped out and arrested. I am never going to be for arresting people that have not committed a crime. Let's get that out of the way. The idea, though, that this is something that even took place for the first time in this country during Occupy is kind of a false one to me, because we saw similar style detainments, if you will, during the G20 in 2009. Now, yes, I guess both of these are under the Obama administration, and I don't agree with any of them. But when you have police forces that refuse to do their jobs, you kind of put the federal government into a corner. And then you have big dick swinging Donnie out there who's a wartime president and has rebuilt the military. And I've always warned people, even before he was president, about his authoritarian nature. And I'm sure in his mind, he's fixing America. He's getting the bad guys. But like you just pointed out, the vast majority of this stuff, and I'm not talking about the stealing of the TVs. I'm not talking about, the bashing of people's windows, although that is very often provocateur. But the real large-scale stuff, the big fires, the big riots, you do have a history of these agent provocateurs doing that in order to basically declare martial law in areas and go around and what? Round people up illegally. What happens next? Does this expand? For instance, my ex-girlfriend, she contacted me. She said that they had deployed some of these federal agents now into New York City. I haven't seen anything on the Cuomo side of that. You have Governor Tom Ridge, who's just about as neocon as it gets, saying it'll be a cold day in hell before the feds patrol Pennsylvania cities, which seems kind of odd to me. What is your take? What is next when it comes to this?
Well, we know that there's a pre-crime program in the Department of Justice. It began in January of this year. There was only a handful of outlets that reported on it last year when Billy Barr made the announcement that this was going to happen, which was a shame in and of itself, because you would think that as independent media, this would be something we would all be screaming about. As far as what comes next, I think that we're not just going to see it in New York City or in Chicago, where their Democratic mayor Lightfoot has welcomed DHS troops with open arms. I think that unless there's a massive civilian response to this by regular working Americans saying, no, this is way the fuck out of hand, I can't believe that you're even thinking about doing this, then we are tacitly allowing for it to take place. And I gotta say, man, it's been really weird to watch my friends on the right who are screaming about a deep state and a cabal and all of these incredibly fascistic, draconian, hidden organizations that are ruling the country for real, celebrate these tactics. And I've heard the line that you said, well, when the cops can't do their jobs, you have to send in the federal government. As far as I can tell, the cops are absolutely doing the job that they're set out there to do. They've been tear gassing the fuck out of people. They've been shooting rubber bullets at them. They've been rounding up journalists. That's what they're there to do. This seems to be more of a flex than a breakdown of normal rule of law.
Yeah,
and I understand that Portland may be a special case in this scenario because they are way the fuck out of hand. But it seems to be like Portland's a live fire exercise for the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, again, when I look at this, right, let's also talk about the Department of Homeland Security for a second. I don't think it should exist. I think it is literally parallel with Hitler's and the Nazis, Deutschland security that came into existence after the Reichstag fire. Because guess what? We didn't need a fucking DHS in 2001, and we didn't get one until post-2001. And I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. I don't like unaccountable federal agents picking people up. Now, on the flip of that, when you tell your police officers to stand down and allow a Chaz or a chop zone, you then put the pressure on the federal government to eventually do something. My question is, why have we not used the National Guard in their capacity to do this instead of Deutschland or Homeland Security, and do so in a manner when if you break the law, we fucking arrest you? If you're not breaking the law, we don't drag you out of your car, period. For instance, when I watch this video of them dragging this person out of the black SUV, and then I see protesters throwing bottles and hitting police officers in the car, aren't it the protesters that are throwing shit at the cops now breaking the law, and maybe the ones that you should have dealt with before you ripped the guy out of the car? This is setting all sorts of bad precedents. Like you said, journalists being rounded up, proactive arrests on people that haven't broken the law, and like you said before, all these people that are talking about deep state and Bill Barr's going to save us seem to have this blind spot when Donnie Trump and the gang endorse something. How do we get past that? I mean, I know you know, after all, this Assange indictment is full board Barr administration, Rick Grenell written, Donnie Trump endorsed. So how do we get that message across to a crew that can't even admit that it was insane for Donnie Trump yesterday to wish Ghislaine Maxwell well, not once, but twice?
I think it's gonna take. I think it's gonna take puppets, Jason. I think we're gonna have to get some creative people together to do like a puppet show, or a well done animated show, because you can't talk regularly to people who are sort of wrapped in this delusion. I want to point out something here real quick too, because Donald Trump is emboldened and empowered by the very people who on camera stand in opposition to him. With the DHS, they've just been greenlit with no strings attached, a $61 million budget by Nancy Pelosi, by Chuck Schumer, by these fucking we're the resistance for optics sake Democrats. So this is a problem that goes, way beyond just Donald Trump supporters or I guess Joe Biden fucking supporters.
Do those exist?
In terms of how we get it across to people. It's what we're doing right now, just screaming at each other in agreement. but having these conversations as often as we can, and having them out in our everyday lives with people that we meet while we're out and about. Because I think if you say, do you agree that the U.S. should have a pre-crime division? 99% of the people are going to go, well, no. It's just getting them to get past the optics and to get past the partisanship that's the hard part.
Well, I think also there's a lot of misconstrued narratives out there, right? I may not agree with Black Lives Matter protesters because I think it's divisive. I think that it is incorrect. I do think that all lives matter. Yes, people that are black, your life matters. It's always mattered to me. People that are Asian, your life matters. Always matter to me. If you're of Spanish or possibly Latino descent, your life matters to me. White people out there, your life matters to me too, and you should be able to protest. But then people will come back at you and say that all of these gatherings are actually rioters because they're not on the scene. They're listening to talking heads on one side or the other. And they have to realize, in my opinion, that it's not black and white, especially when we're getting to these protests. Because even if you don't like it, you should be in favor of it taking place because they are exercising their First Amendment rights. As soon as those First Amendment rights turn into looting, turn into violence, turn into destruction of property, I think that, yes, they should be dealt with legally. But then I see people like Tucker Carlson saying those that have ripped down statues should be treated as terrorists. And I go, fuck no! Fuck no! They should not be fucking treated as fucking terrorists. Fuck no! If you destroy property
when Tucker Carlson says that, real quick, Tucker Carlson says that, does he get his surprised look on his face like he just realized that he's being fisted at the dentist's office? Like, is that just?
He says it with such a straight face, I can't believe it. And it's like, look, man, if Jason Burmis goes out to any monument, let's say it's a non-political one, okay? It's not a Confederate soldier, it's not somebody who was a colonial leader. There are plenty of those too. Let's say I go to the Liberty Bell because, that represents liberty. I know a lot of you be like, well, colonial times, Jason, it's a fucking bell, okay? Let's say I go to the Liberty Bell, I decide I want to piss on it, and then light it on fire. Pretty sure you can catch me with some charges outside of terrorism where I am going to have to be held legally responsible. I'm going to do some jail time and I'm going to pay some fines. And that's what we should be doing. There is no reason to misconstrue any of this as terrorism or domestic terrorism, because the more people that you put under that umbrella, the more likely it is that you will eventually be under that umbrella. So again, how do we get that point across in this hyper-partisan nation?
We just keep plugging away, man. We do. I don't know if there's a way to suddenly wake up all of the masses, short of like having every single blue check account on Twitter getting hijacked by the two of us, and then we just start speaking as, like, you can take Chrissy Teigen's account and I'll take the Krasenstein brothers, and we'll run roughshod over Twitter. But no, I mean, really, it sucks, man. It's a shitty answer, and I'm sorry that I have to give it, but we can't stop doing what we're already doing. We have to encourage more people to do what we're doing. We have to try to make ourselves obsolete in the way that, like, it's me and you and a handful of other people on the entirety of YouTube that are having these conversations. It's a building process, man. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer. I really do. I do want to say one thing real quick, though. I think that the reason we're seeing pre-crime in action, and the reason that we're seeing announcements from the DHS director that, yes, this is a pre-crime program, and yes, we are going to keep implementing it, is because we have these mask mandates, and the mask mandates fuck up facial recognition. So if you're going to order your population to inadvertently duck facial recognition, you've got to find a way to continue your over-the-top authoritarian tactics. And we have this perfect thing right here in pre-crime that allows for it.
Well, I'll say this. That may be the case now, but it will not go away later, even if the masks ever do. And who knows if they will. We could live in a fucking 12 monkey society where we're all so scared of the germs and the viruses and they're all going to kill us. And certainly that fear is being pushed upon us. But what you never see with any of these laws or agencies or policies is a rollback. Once they get the power, they keep it. And they use it any which way they'd like. And that's why, even though Tucker Carlson seems like the only voice of reason on mainstream media in 2020, and I give him that credit when that credit is due, when he says these are terrorists, that's dangerous for all of us. So now, Steve, what do you think will happen with these protests? They've already been dying down in the last several weeks. You've already seen them kind of dim and dim and dim a little more. And now the big national debate is whether we should be masking up or not masking up. Does that then become the new terrorism once those mandates are in effect nationally? That if you're not wearing a mask, we got fucking domestic terrorists running around?
I have been accused of murder for not wearing a mask by a real person. I think that our populace has been so heavily primed for fear and so motivated to, I guess, become the new Stasi that that yeah, that terrorism may be a little bit extreme at the moment, but certainly assault charges on people who aren't wearing masks aren't that far in the offing. I know that you can get hit with a trespassing charge if you try to walk into some establishments without wearing a mask right now. Um, we're never too far from complete totalitarianism. We never are. And we live in an illegitimate system where we have fake elections and we have a news media that operates as little more than the public relations outfit for our oligarchs and the people who are whispering to the oligarchs for how we should best be ruled. So it's a frightening prospect, but at the same time, it just makes me be louder. It makes me push back more, and I will continue to do that until they take me away, and then I'll do that from behind bars.
I'm with you because I'll tell you what, once I leave this trip, if they try to keep me in my house, number one, supposedly to Cuomo, I'm media, so I'm exempt because I'm an essential worker. I don't have to quarantine for 14 days. But even if I wasn't, I'm not spending 14 days in my fucking house once I leave one of the 31 states that he's mandated that I must quarantine myself. I'm not sick. Nobody I've been around is sick. Okay? Nobody. Zip, zip, zip. Nobody. Okay? If I could, I'd go on the street right now, I'd shake random hands and kiss random fucking babies, and I ain't running for office. I know that'll be misconstrued. See, Burmis wants to kiss babies. He's
I knew he was a shill. I knew it. Knew it.
I knew it. But you get what I'm saying. We are living in an unprecedented time during an unprecedented era where when I see pre-packaged propaganda for the establishment candidate Joe Biden, he's walking with Obama in some big special. And what's the focus? Oh, they're wearing masks. Isn't that cute? Oh, they're wearing masks to protect me. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden doesn't even know he's wearing a mask when he's wearing a mask. He doesn't know what's going on. Someone puts that on for him as they wipe the drool away from his fucking mouth because he's incoherent and can barely speak. And without these prepackaged bullshit propaganda programs they put out, they could never roll this dude out to even talk for 20 minutes because he can barely speak. What are your thoughts on the media's failure to address how this Biden thing is a total sham?
Fuck these guys, Jason. So when they had, I think it was the second Democratic primary debate, the Julian Castro or whatever Castro they let on the stage to embarrass himself at the moment did call out Joe Biden and said, I don't know if Joe knows what he said 2 minutes ago. And it was addressed. It was something that the media was actually talking about for a couple of weeks because at that point, Biden was doing terrible in the polls. They were propping up CIA Pete, or they were propping up Grandma Oatmeal. And so Biden had kind of fallen out of favor for the moment. So it was an allowable subject. As soon as Biden was they announced his coronation, that he was the pre-selected nominee. As soon as that became official, it damn near became a hate crime to point out that maybe there's stale, cold, instant grits where his brains used to be, and this should be a subject of concern. They're going to ignore it and ignore it and ignore it. And unless he straight up starts stripping off of his clothes to take a shit on the floor on a live broadcasted debate, they're not going to say a goddamn thing about it. And you and I are going to be ageist assholes who, just have no sense of propriety, who have no respect for the process of what people go through when they try to attain the highest office in the land. And we are somehow going to be the bad guy because Joe Biden has dementia.
You know, I kind of have to bring this full circle because I brought this up with Fitch and you talked about him stripping down naked. About 2 days ago, it was trending that there was this girl at Portland who was a protester and she stripped down naked, and the big photo was a photo of her back with her legs spread eagle with lights on her in front of police officers. Now let me just explain something to people, and I would have had no problem with this had this ever occurred to me. If I was at a protest, any protest, doesn't matter what it's for, what it's about, when it was, and I decided to strip down to my bare ass and get rid of my knickers, I wouldn't have even been balls deep before I was tackled to the fucking ground by somebody and drug into a fucking police car. Period. All right? I just want to say that. So
100%.
So when you see things like that being not only allotted by the police, but then promoted by the media, you better realize you're in a setup. You are in a setup, and it doesn't matter that she's a hot chick, okay? It doesn't. It matters not, because if anybody did that, and it wasn't some kind of PR campaign, if it wasn't some sort of a media moment, that's it. You get arrested. There's no naked in public, man. It's not a real thing, okay? So, what do you think the next big media manipulation will be regarding these protests?
Wow. I think that we're going to see, it's got to be dogs, right? Right? Like the one thing that like white people can't allow is cruel treatment of an animal, and I know that sounds like I'm playing like a race card or something like that, but look, man, I'm a white person, okay? Most of my friends are white people. This is something that we can talk about with ourselves and laugh about, and look, so I think that we're going to start seeing protest dogs. I do. I think that they're going to have little bandanas or, like maybe little N95 masks or some shit like that, because you have to safely social distance with your pets. Apparently, I don't really. And I do. I think we're going to see protest dogs. I think we're going to see protest cats if possible. Harder to get them on a leash, but it's possible. I can't see anything. It's a fucking cartoon, Jason. It is. So it will only get more absurd. I can guarantee you that. I'm bad at predictions. I don't normally make them, but I think I can safely predict that no matter what is going to happen in the next couple of months, it's going to be incredibly absurd. And it has to distract from the election, because we got two men who have both been accused of sexual assault, of rape, like multiple allegations. We got two guys who are arguably authoritarian, if not openly fascist. We got two guys who are trying to out neocon each other where it comes to the Middle East and to Iran, specifically. So they can't focus on that. You remember in 2016, it was wall-to-wall election coverage by the end of July. Everywhere you went, you couldn't fucking get away from it.
Yep.
There's next to no coverage about this right now. It's coronavirus or it's Black Lives Matter, and that's it.
And I think it kind of goes without saying right now, whether people realize it or not, it's over, man. These lockdowns ain't ending before the election. There's no chance. We're 3.5 months out. And now that we are 4+ months deep in this, I hope people realize that all those morons out there that said, if you stay home and you wear the mask for 2 weeks, we're going to be fine and then reopen. No. And this is setting unprecedented power grabs for anybody in authority. And that is dangerous no matter who is in authority. I want to thank Steve Poikonen for joining me. You can follow him at Sloan Newsday Show on Twitter. Action for Assange is the website. Why don't you give people a preview of what's coming up for Action for Assange, Steve?
So we are heading back to Washington, D.C. Julian Assange's rendition and show trial, the second part of that begins on September 7th. We successfully crowdfunded to get ourselves there in February. You were kind enough to come down and help amplify what we were doing. We are going to be going back. We are trying to be there for all 3 weeks of this hearing. So we're currently crowdfunding for that. We have a series of mini documentaries that we're styling like teach-ins that we've released one. The second one comes out this week. Hopefully the third will have a much quicker turnaround time on it. We'd like to get 4 or 5 out before we go. We're still running the Free Assange Vigils, now in its 55th consecutive week. We've got some pretty incredible guests lined up for that. We're going to do an all veteran intelligence professionals for sanity show with Ray McGovern, Bill Binney, and John Kiriakou very soon. So we're plugging away at it. We are updating our website so it won't look like it was built in 1997 by some massively stoned kid with 6 fingers. Yeah, we're plugging away, man. We are.
Well, I'm going to be there by your side. Hopefully this September, I'm going to find a way to D.C. We'll see, man. I'm still looking for a new forever home. Missouri's looking pretty good. That's where I'm out of. Right now, Iowa, Missouri, and South Dakota still in the running. South Dakota somehow not on the list of 31 states that I'm not supposed to be in. But I got to tell you, Cuomo, you're not going to tell me what to do. Your executive orders are nonsense. I don't care about your meatballs and your daughters. Freedom is freedom, and we have to exercise that. Steve, thank you so much for joining me, brother.
Thank you, Jason. Always a good time.
Always a good time. And we will be back with him hopefully shortly. Guys, you can support me over at GoFundMe. That's how I do it. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Big donors, I need you now more than ever. We're fully demonetized on this platform. I have no illusions that I will be remonetized, even though, I think now we're over 1,400 videos on this platform. No violations. No, ooh, you're a bad guy kind of stuff. They've pulled 2 of my videos. One was Dr. Cameron Siddell, and the other was Louis Gomer daring to say Erica Caramello Bar's real name, which I'm still not allowed to say on this platform, which should blow your mind, okay? It should blow your mind. I can't say a person's name on a platform. It's nuts. So thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. We lost a lot of subscribers in the past couple of days for not bowing down to the right-wing QAnoner mob or the MAGA mob, because we call it like we see it. It's not about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. And there are nuances to all of these issues that we need to be aware of. Make sure you check out my documentary films. They are all free of charge. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture are all available now in the documentaries playlist section. And you can also support me over on Rockfin. And if you do that, you get Ben Askren, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Nico House, Sam Tripoli, John Fitch, and many others along with it. And remember, you can just sign up for free, and there are plenty of free videos on there as well. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the flip side.